When I finally told him I thought it might have something to do with my sexuality, he was very understanding. They dated for years on the set of Roseanne, but Sara Gilbert could tell something wasn't right. She wasn't sure why, but every time they kissed, it made her sad. She fell in love with someone else after that, a well-known woman who is 18 years older. She kept it a secret for almost 10 years, though, because she was afraid Hollywood would fire her. In 2010, she finally told everyone. Because of the secret, she lost something she could never get back. In spite of what most people think, she wasn't actually protecting the person. Sara Gilbert was born at St. John's Hospital in Santa Monica, California, on January 29, 1975. Harry Crane, her grandfather, made the popular comedy show The Honeymooners in 1951. Barbara Cowan, her mother, was an actress when she was a child in the 1950s. The name she was born with was Sarah Rebecca Ableese. Sara didn't always have it easy, even though she was born into the entertainment business. Paul Gilbert was an aviator in World War II and a vaudeville performer who raised Barbara's 2 kids, Jonathan and Melissa. Her mother had been married to Paul Gilbert before. That year, 1972, they split up. February 13, 1976, was the day that Paul Gilbert killed himself. His family kept this information from the public for a long time, at first saying that he had died of a stroke. Sara was just over a year old at the time. Melissa was Sara's older half-sister from Little House on the Prairie. She knew Sara was 6 years old that Melissa got a lot of attention. Melissa was 21 years old when she got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. She loved being famous. Sara, on the other hand, watched everything from afar. She once said that the only reason she wanted to be an actress was because she did not like how Melissa was getting all the attention on set. In 1984, when she was 9 years old, Sara changed her last name to Gilbert so that she would have the same family history. Jonathan and Melissa were her siblings. They were all part of the same complicated and well-known family, but they were not related to Sara or to each other biologically. Sara's first job in front of the camera was in a Kool-Aid commercial when she was about 6 years old. After 3 years, in 1984, she made her acting debut in the CBS TV movie Calamity Jane. She played the part of Jean. In contrast to many young artists, she was still going to school because her mother insisted on keeping things normal. Barb, her mother, made sure the business didn't take her away. Barbara had a production company and worked in show business, but she put Sara in public school to keep her out of the usual trouble. Everything worked because of that steady hand. Everything changed in 1988. Sara tried out for Roseanne and was then cast as Darlene Connor, the sarcastic tomboy middle child. She won fans right away. Roseanne was happy, even though she didn't get the part in the new Friends cast. She once said that calling her sister Melissa mean names when she was younger gave her the funny timing she needed for the part. It worked out well. During the first season of the show, she was nominated for 2 Emmys for how real her performance was. Sara kept going to school even after she became famous on TV. She went to Yale in 1993 while she was still working on Roseanne. From 1993 to 1997, the show worked with her class schedule. One time, they filmed her scenes in New York while she was in Connecticut for class. As the first season of Roseanne came to an end in 1997, she got her degree in art with a focus in photography. Sara and Paul Gilbert were never very close, but his death has always had a quiet but important effect on her life. Melissa, her sister, didn't find out the truth about Paul's death until 2009. He killed himself at the age of 57 after being in pain and hurt for a long time from the war. The story had been kept secret for years. Barbara, on the other hand, had 2 names to keep her personal and professional lives separate. She worked under different names over the years, such as Barbara Crane, Barbara Abels, and Barbara Cowan. Her first goal was always to keep Sara safe. It was clear. Melissa's childhood was full of pressure from the media, while Sara's was calm, safe, and grounded. Sara was already a young professional when she got Roseanne in 1988. The same year, she was on the ABC weekend show Runaway Ralph. It was based on Beverly Cleary's book and starred Fred Savage. It helped her get ready for what was to come. When Roseanne came out, things moved faster. From 1988 to 1997, she played Darlene on TV, which changed how teenagers were seen. It wasn't scared when I went deep on the show. The character had a hard time with sadness in the 1991 season 4 episode, Darlene Fades to Black. Sara continued to grow while following the rules at school. In season 4, she started going out with David Healy, played by Johnny Galecki. When Dan, played by John Goodman, talked to them, the show became more moving. The scenes looked like they were real. Fans will remember how tense it got when Dan saw Darlene and David kissing. It wasn't just good acting. There was more to it. It looked a lot like family fights between dads and daughters all over the United States. Sara not only designed the show for season 6, which ran from 1993 to 1994, but she also had a part in it. By pushing for more feminist and real-world issues, she started to change the stories. In the end, this turned into full creative power. When the new Roseanne came out in 2018, she was the executive producer and star of it, making $300,000 for each show. Her help was needed even in the first draft for the writing to grow. In an episode from 1989, she read a poem that showed a deep sadness underneath the humor. Some of the lines in the poem moved me, like too short to be quarterback, too plain to be queen. She even wrote the episode, Don't Make Me Over, in 1992. When she wasn't working on TV, she played important roles in movies. In the 1990 movie Sooty and Simpson, starring Louis Gossett Jr., she played a girl in segregated Georgia who makes friends with a black man hiding in the woods. The movie was about racism and abuse and won her a Young Artist Award. After that, she was in Poison Ivy with Drew Barrymore in 1992. Even though it didn't do well at the box office, the movie became a cult favorite, especially on TV. Gilbert played Sylvie Cooper, a shy young woman who slowly became smitten with Barrymore's brave character. Because of the performance, she was nominated for an Independent Spirit Award. Things weren't always going well, though. Different people had different reactions. When Roseanne ended in 1997, it turned out that season 9 was mostly made up. They didn't win the lottery, their partners changed, and Dan died. People who supported thought they had been let down. Later, Sara agreed that season 8 should have been the end of the show. When the 2018 reboot came out, the conclusion was taken back. Dan became awake again. When the clocks went back to their original times, Sara was finally able to take charge of the story from behind the scenes. Sara Gilbert, a quiet medical student getting used to life at County General, started working as Dr. Jane Feigler in the emergency room at the end of 2004. She wasn't in this show very often, but she was already well known for her role as Darlene on Roseanne. For 3 years, her character went back and forth between episodes with no real plot until something unexpected happened. A strange BDSM relationship was set up between her and Dr. Crenshaw at one point. But this was the only interesting thing about her role. It didn't even work that way. Gilbert would go missing for long periods of time and then mysteriously show up again. From 2004 to 2007, she was in 15 shows, but none of them were very interesting. Like Darlene on Scrubs, she stayed in the background while the show went on. After that came The Big Bang Theory. In October 2007, she changed her name to Dr. Leslie Winkle and became a strict experimental physicist. She fell in love with Leonard right away. Her sarcastic tone made people pay attention to her. After her first appearance in the Fuzzy Boots Corollary, she came back in the Hamburger Postulate and the Codpiece Topology, among other episodes. They looked like they had something for a moment. She was moved up to the main group in season 2, but it didn't last long. By 2009, she was back to killing people one after the other. It was hard for the show to figure her out. Penny wasn't the right one. It wasn't Amy. And to be honest, it didn't always work. In an interview in 2025, Gilbert said that the writers had trouble with her part. Leslie didn't show up for a while after Leonard's casual proposal in May 2010 was turned down. In 2016, on Sheldon's birthday, she came back for the 200th show, but the door had already moved slowly shut by that time. Behind the scenes, Gilbert was working on something that had nothing to do with comedies. After 54 years, As the World Turns ended in December 2009. At the same time, She told CBS about a brand new chat show format. It was a simple idea. Women talk about life, family, and the news through the lens of being a mother. Later, she made fun of Ellen for not even coming close to being qualified for the job. They said yes even though she was shy, quiet, and didn't like small talk. She was chosen over an emerald cooking show and a new episode of Pyramid hosted by Andy Richter. In July 2010, CBS finally gave their okay. The talk first aired on October 18th that fall. Gilbert was more than that as a co-host. She decided on the tone and direction because she was in charge of making it. Sharon Osbourne, Julie Chun, Holly Robinson Peete, Leah Remini, and Marissa Jared Winokur were in the first group. It felt different from the start. It was honest, private, and sometimes awkward to have those conversations. Other daytime shows stuck to safe topics, but the talk pushed for fights and times when people felt vulnerable. People stayed because they thought it was real. That became clear after the second season. In January 2012, 2 million people watched the show. 45 million people watched in 1 week. For women aged 25 to 54, it went up by 10%, and for women aged 18 to 49, it went up by 13%. In March, CBS brought it up again. The talk beat out The View, Wendy Williams, and even Ellen to win an afternoon Emmy in 2016. Critics praised Sara Gilbert's ability to lead, and they also said that her ideas for the play were brave and long overdue. In one of the most moving parts of the show, that same fearlessness was shown. During Secret Week in September 2013, Gilbert told the host something she had never said in public before. She talked about how she came to terms with being a lesbian while making Roseanne and dating Johnny Galecki. At the time, she didn't know how she felt. Even though she felt bad about kissing Galecki, she didn't know why. He listened, helped her, and never told anyone else her secret after she finally told it to him. He promised to hold her hand if she needed it, and he called her years later as she was getting ready to say it on the talk. At that point, people were reminded of the good things about the show. That way, the truth could come out even when things were bad. Gilbert has been on the show for almost 10 years, by 2019. She said she was going on April 9th. She told the crowd that her life was a mess, even though she liked her job. The Connors had to give up something in order to make music and raise 3 kids. She was still writing in her youngest son's baby book even though he was 4 years old. That's when she knew. She stayed until August, and on August 2nd, she filmed her last performance. She said that even though she wasn't working full-time anymore, she would sometimes come back as a guest. Sara Gilbert had no idea that a sketch could lead to so much. On her daytime talk show, she and John Goodman played the same old roles for fun for the first time. Anything that worked, though. There was still a spark. She kept thinking about what it would be like to see Roseanne again, not just for fun, but because it was true. After that, she made a pitch. She wanted it to be real, honest, and full of problems that families are having right now. Opioid addiction, broken dreams, and parents coming back home. She didn't lie about anything. Darlene was a single mom, with 2 kids. After failing at trying to make it in the arts, she went back to the house she grew up in. Many hours of work went into making Sara's show honest and showing what happens when life changes your plans. Because ABC liked the idea so much, they bought 13 episodes before the first one even came out. The work was supposed to start up again in August 2018. The show was coming back. That first episode, which aired on March 27, 2018, was like a bomb going off. 18. There were 2 million people there. The next episode, which aired right after, was watched by 18 more people. 6 million. It beat out Young Sheldon, which had been the record holder, to become the most watched premiere of any season that year. 3 days later, ABC picked up the show again because so many people were watching. But there were cracks in the walls already. It was hard to tell what Roseanne Barr would do. When she had temper tantrums on set, the crew would text each other to say how surprised they were. It didn't matter who was nearby. There were some things that not even the creators could agree on. Barr made up her own mind. Of course, it was Whitney Cummings. Wanda Sykes also had strong opinions. It was tough to get anything done. The younger crew members were tense all the time. All of them were hoping Barr wouldn't set off the mines that day. It worked kind of. Sara Gilbert smiled the whole time she was on her talk show. She started to cry when she thought about how many people had seen. She thanked Roseanne in front of a lot of people. She was happy with what they had done. But when no one was around, she held everything together with her bare hands. A lot of work went into keeping everyone happy, getting the younger workers to stay, and stopping Barr from ruining everything. But each week it got harder. Barr sent out tweets that she had to take down. Every time she picked up the phone, the producers were worried. Sara knew what she was going through. She stole the show. She put together the show. She fought very hard to get this back. Now it was up to her to keep it from falling apart. She was sure that they were running out of time, even though ABC was ready to go on. It was over at 2:45 a.m. May 29th, 2018. Something Roseanne tweeted made the whole thing much worse. She wrote, "Hey kid, have fun. Planet of the Apes and Muslim Brotherhood had a child." Valerie Jarrett was the name of the woman she used. She was black and had worked closely with President Obama. The internet went crazy. After only a few hours, ABC dropped the show. There was no doubt that ABC President Channing Duniya would end the show because of the tweet. The CEO of Disney said it was the only choice. Wanda Sykes resigned right away. Sara had no idea about it at all. She learned about it during dangerous conference calls that felt like fire drills. People from the cast and crew lost their jobs overnight. The biggest comeback ABC had seen in years was ruined by one tweet. Sara wasn't scared. She moved quickly to keep what she could. The show was over, though. The real harm then happened. That same day, Sara said on Twitter that Roseanne's comments about the other cast members were disgusting and didn't say anything good about them. She really was upset when she said she was. After a few days, she told The Talk that she felt bad for the team and agreed with ABC's choice. Roseanne did not forgive her, though. The next year, Barr said in an interview that Sara was ruining her life. "She will never get enough until she eats my liver with a fine Chianti," she said. There was more going on than lying. It was poison. Barr said that Sara had stabbed her again in the back in 2023. And on her talk show, she pretended to be shocked by Sara's racism. Sara never got back at them. She only said that she agreed with ABC's choice. Sara Gilbert is in a new part of her life, and more than 200 team members lost their jobs. That was her name for about 40 years. The new part of her story is just beginning, but it could be the end for good. In the Netflix show Atypical, she played the religious Professor Judd. She keeps showing up for work and making up stories with Tom Werner. She says that she wants to make content that is meaningful, funny, and sad. It's clear that she's not done, no matter what she does next. Not even close. Sara Gilbert has had a great time working in the entertainment business. She had a long career, from her early days as a child star in commercials to her role as Darlene on Roseanne. It included being watched by the public, growing as a person, and having ups and downs. Her ability to keep a healthy work-life balance while hiding her true identity for a long time shows how strong and resilient she is. Not just her. A lot of people in Hollywood were shocked when she came out in 2010. It took down barriers and gave people a place to say what they really thought. But it wasn't easy. For so long, she had been hiding the fact that she was gay because she was afraid of being judged and losing her job. But by telling the truth to the public with honor and honesty, she set an example for others who are going through the same things. Because of The Talk, she could use her voice in new ways. This was a big step forward in her career. As the show's creator and executive director, she made sure that it dealt with real, unfiltered, and often uncomfortable topics, which helped it become popular. By talking about her own life, especially her sexuality, she made other people feel heard and seen. People praised her for being a celebrity in her field, and the show's popularity showed that people wanted real people. Sara Gilbert stayed dedicated to her career and personal growth, even though she had to deal with problems like Roseanne's sudden cancellation after the 2018 event. Even though Roseanne Barr wasn't on the Connors, her time there showed that she could steer a ship through rough waters. She respected the Connor family name, and even though her show lost viewers over time, it still had an effect. After the last episode of The Connors in 2025, Sara thought back on her time with the Connor family. Even though she was sad to leave, she was proud of what they had done. She was ready for the next part of her life, where she could keep making things, inspiring others, and discovering new things. Sara keeps trying new things with acting and producing even now. She wants to try new roles that will push her creativity, but she still really wants to go back to the world of The Big Bang Theory. Besides that, she works hard on her production company, Sara Plus Tom, which she started with the goal of making content that people could really relate to. Sara Gilbert's story shows how important it is to be real, strong, and brave enough to start over. People will remember her for years to come, whether she's in the hearts of her fans, behind the scenes, or on TV. She has shown that fighting for who you really are is always worth it, and that it's never too late to start over.